I hope this video finds you well and you are in good health. I hope wherever you are during this time of uncertainty and change of pace and lifestyle, you are able to reconnect with what you find important and get back to a simple way of living. My name is Xavier Leckleitner, and I have lived on a farm my entire life. My dad has been running our farm for over 40 years. My family were dairy farmers until my junior year of high school, milking cows 2 times a day, 365 days a year. Even though the amount of time and effort put into the farm was significant, the returns were not. We had to make the difficult decision to sell our dairy herd and buy some beef cattle. We have been beef farmers ever since and have fallen in love with raising and growing beef cattle. This video will discuss what is happening to American farmers due to COVID-19, the significance of it, and the impact it will have going forward on farmers. Although COVID-19 was bound to reach the United States, we as Americans weren't sure when it was going to happen and what it was going to look like. However, in a matter of hours, the lives of everyone seemed to be placed on halt. Days later, the country seemed to be at a standstill. Local and state governments ordering safer at home legislation mandating that people only leave their homes for essential items such as groceries and medicine. This has impacted both small and large businesses on a variety of different levels. One sector that has been tremendously impacted is the farmers. Prior to COVID-19, farmers were already hurting. In 2018, Wisconsin lost just over 600 dairy farms, and in 2019, that number jumped to nearly 800 dairy farms. On November 12, 2019, Dean Foods, one of America's largest dairy processors, filed for bankruptcy. Dean Foods is the parent company of Land O'Lakes, directly impacting America's heartland, the Midwest. When farmers stop farming, they are put in a different situation. A lot of baby boomers and Generation X people did not go and get a secondary education. So when they stop farming, they have to find a new job or go back to school and then find a job. Farmers across the country are getting out of the business for so many different reasons. A trade war resulting in low prices on agricultural products, people not consuming nearly as much dairy as they once did, severe weather, corporate farming, and a simple lack of generational interest in the lifestyle. Some may be thinking, so what if small farms are no more? It doesn't bother me. Fair enough. But if small farms continue leaving, so does rural America. So does spending summers on your grandparents' farm or driving through beautiful country and seeing small herds of cattle grazing in the field. COVID-19 was the knife in the back to a already hurting population. With schools and restaurants forced to close their doors, dairy is not being bought at the level it once was. Local communities are trying their best to help out the farmers by purchasing more milk, but it makes it increasingly difficult when stores place limits on dairy products due to fear-instilled people who are hoarding groceries. The thing people need to understand is that America is not running out of food. It is simply a lack of distribution capabilities. Much like the world is trying to flatten the curve so that hospitals can survive, people need to understand that the curve also needs to be flattened for grocery hoarding and distribution capabilities so that farmers can survive. There are serious issues with the operations and logistics with getting farm to the plate. The reason for this is because although America was expecting COVID-19 to reach our soil, we didn't know what this was going to look like. We weren't sure how people would respond and to what degree they would. People tried to prepare, but there is only a certain amount of preparation that can take place. Now that we have a sense of what is happening, some things can change going forward. Dairy is an extremely nutritious food source and can provide many benefits. If farmers have the product and consumers don't, there is an obvious gap. Due to restaurants and schools being closed, people are not consuming nearly as much dairy. Milk processing plants can't accept milk because they simply don't have room for it. This is resulting in milk being dumped out and co-ops encouraging their farmers to get out of the farming business now as opposed to potentially a year or two down the road. Farmers were already struggling when milk prices were good, but now that they are having a difficult time getting the milk to the end users, it is making things all the more difficult. According to the Farm Bureau, there are unofficial estimates that the current market price of milk is down 40% compared to January. Prices for cattle, corn, and other farm goods are also falling. Oftentimes, farmers can offset low milk prices by selling some crops or excess animals, but when all the prices are falling, it is hard to make ends meet. America is the land of freedom and opportunity, yet there are people struggling to get a healthy meal. There are organizations that are really stepping up to help supply America with food, such as Meals on Wheels and Feeding America. Community members are also stepping up, and schools who once provided meals to students are packaging meals for them. However, this isn't enough during a time like this. Nobody should have to go to bed without a nutritious meal, and farmers shouldn't be wasting product. Something needs to be done so that the unprocessed milk can be utilized for those who need it. Much like pop-up hospitals are being created, something of the sort should be created for farmers to either store or process their milk so that it doesn't have to be wasted. A simple holding tank would suffice so that instead of wasting the valuable and nutritious milk, it can be stored until the processing plants are able to process the milk and get it to those who need it the most. Grocery stores should also stop putting a limit on dairy, but instead encourage the dairy to be bought. Once America comes out of this pandemic, there are certainly going to be struggles with the economy. Everyone is going to be hurting in some aspect. Farmers rank near the top for the most suicidal profession, and sadly, the numbers going forward probably won't be much more promising. Ideally, something good that comes from this is that people buy more local products and support the community they live in like they once did. That is why now, more than ever, we need to be reaching out to our loved ones, checking in on others, and supporting those who you can. Spring is the calving season, the planting season, and the time for growth around the farm. Farmers need money to buy seed and fuel for planting, as well as to pay off any additional debts or loans that they have from equipment repairs or other expenses throughout the year. Due to this, money for farmers is already tight, but when dairy products aren't being bought, income decreases and it places yet another burden on farmers. Animal auctions are being canceled, so selling and buying animals has become extremely difficult. This is obviously in regards for the public's health and safety, but it doesn't make things any easier for farmers. From an environmental standpoint, travel restrictions have significantly reduced the amount of emissions. According to BBC, the levels of air pollutants and warming gases over some cities and regions are showing significant drops as coronavirus impacts work and travel. As terrible as the coronavirus has been, maybe this is what the world has needed to restart on a clean slate. I thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you were able to gather some insightful information. I hope you stay safe, stay healthy, and tell those who you love how much you care for them.